explain to me exactly what our authority is, exactly what our purpose is, that's, let's say, independent of City of Wauchula, that they would actually need an airport authority?
It seems, may I?
Yes, please.
It seems to me that you had several questions in there.
I did.
And I'll do my best to answer them. I read the 1982 ordinance that created the authority, and it's as if someone that was drafting it had a little schizophrenia, because the vast majority of it makes it clear that this is a dependent special district, and that your power derives from the city commission of the city of Wauchula, that your budget is approved by the city commission of the city of Wauchula, that you don't have any employees, and yet there are calls, is what I would refer to them as, of powers that the board could exercise. Now, I don't know. I haven't been here all 32 years of the operation of the board, so I don't know if you had employees at one time and now don't, or I don't know how that played out through time. But if the board never had any employees, if the board never had its own budget, then this would be more in the nature of an advisory board to the city commission. Now that, you know, again, I wasn't here, so I don't know how the decision-making played out. It's entirely possible that this board was proactive at some point in its past, and I don't want to, I mean, there's clearly an ability for it to be that way, that was contemplated in certain parts of the ordinance. Candidly, they are in conflict with other provisions of the ordinance, and so when you have a conflict like that, one tries to look at the past and see how these things occurred, how they played out. And you know, any information I'd have on that would be hearsay, because I was not here, I have not witnessed it. The only thing that I've bore witness to, I suppose, is the eminent domain case, and certainly the airport board is not prosecuting the eminent domain case for taking the property or paying any of the expenses of it. So my best opinion right now is that this board is an advisory board that does have certain powers that it could exercise, but that perhaps it has not exercised in the past.
Was it done with an ordinance or
Yes.
resolution?
I believe it was done by an ordinance. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the code of ordinances.
So, well, that was kind of my question at the last meeting.
Hey, Amnesty actually allowed us to be blindsided. To me, shows a certain amount of contempt for the board.
I agree 100%.
Okay, I don't agree with that because, and here's why I don't agree with that. Because you have to have somebody in charge. He's in charge, let him run it. We are
But fine, it doesn't keep him from informing us, Dale.
No, but
Bill, we
nobody,
still set
nobody's
the
perfect.
policy at that airport.
Okay, nobody's
That we're
perfect.
somewhat
What are we doing here?
responsible for the
Nobody's perfect.
operation.
We're
We-
advising.
I think we should have been notified, and that's hindsight. At this point, we're gonna deal
Well, let
with
me
it.
speak to one other thing, Mr. Chairman, if I can. If we're an advisory board, I can't see anything much more important than being involved with the airport management that we're supposed to be working with. You know, you don't have to do what we say, but if we're an advisory board, shouldn't there be some type of input?
Thank God.
I agree with that.
Isn't
Absolutely.
there?
No.
Excuse me,
I think we need to be involved in the,
this might help you, Levon, that's the Florida statute that governs you guys.
Something that city attorneys should render an opinion on. And I want to tell you why. Whether or not this board needs some type of reorganization is a political issue. And I am going to resist very strongly getting in the middle of a political issue. If somebody wants to ask me a legal issue from the city commission, is this an efficient way? Can we clean this up? Yeah, I would answer that. I mean, I think that the ordinance could be cleaned up a little bit, but you know, what an arrogant statement to make if one doesn't know the full background of the 32 years of operation. And that's why I'm very reluctant to render any kind of what I would call a management opinion about any board of this city. I haven't seen, I don't know the background of the way in which the board has operated for 32 years. I mean, there's not a whole lot of lawsuits out there involving this board, so that, I mean, one could take that as an indication that, if, you know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that's just one
Well, I think we have operated as an advisory board, and I know we have had previous legal opinions from the city attorney that has indicated that we are an advisory board. But for clarity's sake, with the commission, I just, to clear the air, I'm trying to determine the best course of action. If this board should, either we decide we're gonna maintain the status quo and continue operating, or say to the city commission, would you please give us a legal opinion on, and revisit the ordinance that was created in 1982? When was 189, which would be the state statute, didn't it occur, or its amendments occur after 1982?
If my memory is correct, there was an amendment in 19.
No, at the last meeting, Dale, I thought I was at the wrong place, all the people in the cars that were out there, and had no idea what was going on, and, even Mr. Axton wasn't there till later in the meeting to give us an explanation. You know, we were blindsided.
Well, I don't think Mr. Axton did. I think Mr. Coolman was the only one.
He knew what he did Friday.
Friday morning.
9:30 Friday morning, October 31st. He got fired. He didn't tell anybody. Your meeting was Monday the 3rd. You weren't there.
All right.
I was advised not to show up.
He was told not to go to the meeting.
And that's my point. I think even with the city, there's some confusion about this board and some of the authorities. I just think there needs to be some clarification. I'm not pointing fingers that anybody did anything wrong, but there clearly was some confusion. And there needs to be better communication between the city and the airport authority, especially when a major event happens, that a manager was let go. Now, I have to think that we should have been notified
Okay,
in that case.
are you saying, though, that we should get into the hiring and firing?
No, I think we could at least, we will never actually do the hiring and firing, but we certainly should have input on who works, or who is qualified to work at an airport.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Cloud. Procedurally, isn't it the ordinance that enacts the special district that provides that clarity?
Well, or in clarity, as the case may be, because in this case, there's city employees, and in another part, there's an indication that this board could hire employees.
Right.
Not that you've done that. I mean, that has to be taken into account. You know, I'm not aware of anyone that's an employee of this board, are you?
There isn't any.
And you all don't have a payroll, right? So I don't think there's any confusion over that. There is confusion in the ordinance about what powers this board actually exercises. And that's the only confusion.
And responsibility and liability. All of a sudden, this is the part that I struggle with. We don't have a manager, and the city's assured us they have folks in place, and I think the airport's run fairly well. But it's been there's been a learning curve there, as with any replacement. We need to have some input into some of that. If we're gonna be the folks that are responsible for this airport to run properly, we do set policy. We worked with Jim to set the cost of fuel. we look at the cost of hangars. We're clearly involved in the operation of that airport, and when you take a manager out, that certainly disrupts. We need to be involved in and I've talked to Mr. Ashley about that. He assured me we would be involved in the hiring of the new manager, at least have some input. We want to make sure that person's qualified and gets the proper training to continue to operate that airport for, as safe as it has operated in the past and continue to run well. And we just need some clarity on this issue.
Why isn't the airport?
Why wouldn't you do that?
I didn't understand that.
Why wouldn't you, as the airport authority, make a request to city commission to have me reinstated as the airport manager?
Jim, I have had this discussion with the city.
I'm saying as a board, not as a person.
We can't get involved in the hiring, and
Why not?
we're never gonna make the decision to hire and fire me.
Why can't you
We
get
could
involved?
request that you be reinstated.
That's what I'm asking.
We could do that.
Do it.
Would that mean anything? I don't know.
Do it.
The problem, as you folks are aware, that airport is not, the city management, or the airport management is not a full-time job. Most of the work that you were doing, Jim, was for the city off-site. Now, wouldn't you say that 80% of your work was not at the airport?
I got reimbursed $3,000 a year from the airport and living arrangements to run the airport. My pay for the city was my pay for the city.
Separate. It's a side deal. No, it's not even a position on the city.
The reason I had asked at the last meeting, we're back to the same issue.
Responsibility. And we say, we insist you do this, you insist you do that. Doesn't we become liable?
Well, I don't know about liability. I think that if I were a board member here, the question I want to ask is, has this board ever passed in any way, shape, or form on an employment issue? If the answer to that question is no, I'd be a little hesitant to start venturing into untested waters at this point, particularly with the unknowns out there. Now, I'm just speaking from my standpoint. You understand, I represent the city. That means that I advise advisory boards when they have need, but I do not handle the city's employment law issues. I know they have a separate law firm that addresses those issues.
First of all, thank you. This is the healthiest discussion that I have seen yet.
Amen.
And I feel so much better hearing you guys what I think is ask the right questions. This is a really great discussion going on here. The ambiguity personally is driving me crazy. I'm the consumer in the chain, and I need to know how things work too. I need to know when I have an issue, who do I come to? How do I get a question answered? Who has the authority to do what? I need to know that, or at least I want to know that. And my personal view, my logic tells me that you wouldn't put plumbers in charge of making decisions about electricians' issues. How many of you are pilots? Okay, that's good, right? That's good. Those are the people we want on our airport board. Not somebody that's non-aviation, etc. I want you to have the feeling that we are counting on you. We need you to do what's right for our airport. And I think that I would like to think that the city views you the same way. You're the specialists about this area. And personally, I think even if it comes down to the fact that it's just an advisory board, I would like to think that your advice is held in high regard.
is.
You know what I'm saying? And I would expect very little of what you take to the commission to be questioned.
You're right.
You are the specialists. And I think all of, you know, in regard to Jim, I think all of you know that the airport has come a long way since he's been there. And I think it's obvious that he knows how to do the job out there better than any of us. So that's what we're frustrated about. I can accept the justification for the loss of the IT position. I cannot accept the loss of the airport position. I don't see that one justifies the other. And that's what we need you guys to step up about. And that's what I'm asking you.
How do you do that without creating a conflict?
I understand,
and
sir.
management responsibility?
And I, by the way, I was the person that asked at the last meeting to have the clarification about, you know, that we're talking about now. I was the one that started that conversation. And I still would like to see it in writing, you know, exactly what and golly, I feel good hearing you guys talk about this. Sorry to get sidetracked there.
But I think, Rick, we've always had that. I think we still have it. Just what you said. I think the commission regards us as people who know what we're talking about. I regard all these guys who know what they're talking about. I've always thought that.
Well,
and we want to do what's right. I guarantee you we do.
Right. Well, I have this little voice in the back of my head that's saying all of you know that he should be put back in that position. Now, I know there's a conflict because he's been terminated by someone that you are essentially dependent on or that oversees you. But is it possible that there's been a mistake made here? And could you not step up and firmly say, you know, Mr. Ashley, you know, we appreciate your situation and your money-saving efforts with the IT department, but you know what? We think you made a mistake there, and we'd like to rectify this. That's kind of what I'm looking for help with.
What we don't.
I'm sorry, sir. Did I answer your question?
Rick, what we don't know at this point, Mr. Cloudley, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
On a legal aspect that we could certainly interfere with. And that's why we all feel helpless. We don't know what we could do at this point, or even if we wanted to. Legally, could we really?
Well, probably not. I mean, you might not. I'm assuming that you, even though I heard the ordinance, you know, there's a piece of the ordinance that says there's hiring authority from the board.
Never exercise.
Right, right. Well, let's assume for a minute that you don't have that authority, but a firm suggestion inserted into discussion with the commission at this point is not going to result in any legal. There's no legal. There's nothing to be worried about as far as you're not passing a resolution.
In this instance, though, if we interfered in the hiring, we also would be encumbering the city's budget for the salary.
No, we're not.
We don't have adequate money. The airport is not cash flowing.
The airport already pays $3 grand a year to manage the airport and a place to live. That's all that was asked.
It's a wash.
The budget's already set.
It's a wash.
It's a wash.
There's no other funds.
Actually, the problem is worse. You have an advisory board that's being asked.
And the problem you're having now is the same thing that the reason I got off the Airport Authority is who's in command. After 21 years in the military, somebody was in command all the time. And I think it should be the Airport Authority. The Airport Authority is knowledgeable people that know airplanes and know FAA regulations, and therefore they should be doing it, not the city. You should be an independent entity, and
Right.
we've operated that way for all the years that I was chairman of the Airport Authority for 8 years, and we got the airport runway built and the tarmac in the 4 of the hangars. And we were doing very well until we had this problem, and I don't know, with Jim Hay, Jim did an excellent job as far as I could see out there. I don't know what happened between he and Terry. Terry, both of them were real great guys. But we wouldn't have that problem if the Airport Authority was the
Correct.
Airport Authority.
Correct.
Now, I don't understand how we got $1 million in arrears to the city. When I left it, we were making money out there. We had grant money coming in.
Still making money, Carl.
How can we
We're
get $1
paying
million
back
in
old
arrears?
debt. We still have debt.
We paid, do we owe you anything, Bill? Do we owe you anything when we borrowed money from you to build those T-hangers?
You did, but I think it paid off.
It all, it is, it all paid
We're
off.
still making payments.
My point, any other questions?
I remember all those years, Carl, and I appreciate what you did. And I know,
I'm not looking up here for accolades.
I know, just won't take it.
Well, the point I wanna make, cause I can see both sides of this argument, and I can certainly see Dale's, I'm very nervous about even asking the city to look at rehiring. That's not saying please reinstate Mr. Hay, the motion was to just look at. I can certainly see Dale's point that we shouldn't interfere with that. On the other hand, I can see another side that says we all feel responsibility to the operation of that airport. We want that new person to be properly trained.
Who do you think should do that? Somebody that knows airports or some city person that's just government?
It needs to
We're
be
getting more
somebody that
government,
knows
government,
airports.
government all the time.
And this leads to my question. I remember years ago when Jerry Connerly was the city manager, there was discussion and things about the airport, and we always had input into any decision really that went on out there. It was kind of left up to us. The city had very little involvement. It's still that way in a sense. We're dealing with a personnel issue now. We never could afford to have a manager. Usually the city, if I remember correctly, the city manager basically was the airport manager as well. Is that not correct?
That, well, it may be in name only. They didn't interfere with our decisions in the airport authority. And
But
the
when
airport
we-
authority, while you're there, the airport authority built the airport. We got the money, we made it, we got the money, they did 9%, FDOT put 5%, and that man there got the other $50,000 for our airport authority that we had to pay off.
He called all the local pilots.
He pulled some tails and twisted some arms, but he got it.
Yeah, so
The city hasn't put in a penny in it. Now, how in the world can we get $1 million in arrears? I'd like to have
the
that.
match, the 80-20, the 50-50 match.
Yeah.
Somebody has to put the match up. That comes out of city funds.
$1
The
million?
match is-
Over time.
It's more than you realize. The operation of that airport is not cheap. We try to keep hangar rent low. We try to keep fuel prices low. We want it to be an airport that folks can afford. We always wanted it to be full. I talked to Mr. Willingham this morning at the Sebring Airport. They have 30 T-hangars that are not full. We have 100% occupancy, I believe,
We
as of
always
today.
have. We always have.
There's a
Because we got
huge
about
difference.
10 or 15 people waiting to get T-hangers because they're inexpensive. But if you let one T-hanger go empty for a month, that $15 or $20 or $30 more, and you increase the T-hanger rental, you've lost it all. So that was my philosophy all the time, that we kept it up. We kept low gas and low T-hangers.
Carl, what was Dick Wiseman's relationship with the city of Watchung?
Treated Dick and Mary Wiseman.
Well, that's not for this board to discuss.
I guess not, but that was one of the issues, the reason I resigned. Anything else, guys?
Appreciate your comments.
Well, I appreciate
on
what-
the wish of the city. At the same time, I certainly understand the motion. I have concerns, just like you have concerns. And Terry is a good friend of mine. I certainly don't wanna hurt him in any way, but I have to also vote my conscience in any situation. And I do feel that there's some training that's lacking right now, and I don't know how we fix that. Other than, and if you folks feel that we need to take a look at that, it will be a meeting tonight where I will present this with your support in the background. That we want you to at least look at it, and they may shoot us down and tell us, thank you very much, Airport Authority, but we made our decision and go on the way. But we have at least asked to look at it.
Okay, let me correct you on something. don't care if we go against the city commission at all. I'm a big boy. I don't have to do anything they say. I don't care if they're against it. I'm saying, this is not something we need to get into. It will be a bugaboo. It will haunt us for the rest of our years here.
Then vote no.
I just wanted to make clear to y'all, I don't believe that you're legally prohibited from voting on this motion. But I also want to point out to you, under the charter, who the chief of staff is. And you have, only you can answer the question, do you vote to question a hiring decision of the chief of staff of the city? That's the question I think you gotta answer to yourself.
And again, I'll raise the point. Dick Wiseman was the airport manager. He was not a city employee. How did he get hired? Did this board hire him?
He wasn't paid.
Well, he lived at the airport.
He lived at-
He received almost the same.
I don't know, that is a great question. I heard a lot of information today. I don't have the information.
But then, even if he was hired, and he was hired through some protocol through the city, I know the city's charter has changed. And
Yes,
today, the city manager has supreme authority over the hiring and firing of employees.
yes.
And my concern with this motion is that we are, and no offense to you, Jim, I think you've done a fantastic job and you know how I feel about you. But I think we're usurping the authority of the city of Wauchula's management, and it concerns me. I just think it's very precarious to do that. Sure.
I don't think we're doing that, we're just asking, would you take another look at it? That's not taking anybody's authority away.
But taking a look at it involves a whole can of worms of what the relationship is. Is he covered under workers' comp with the city? What liability issues exist? I mean, there's a lot of things. that need to be
Independent
looked at
contractor.
If we're gonna do that.
If we're
I
gonna
call
be,
for the question. Vote.
Well, you haven't made any comments in this.
I tend to agree with Dale. I think that's stepping into something we shouldn't be stepping into.
May I ask a quick question?
I think the question's been called procedurally, Mr. Chairman.
Pam Bellflower, 220 Illinois, to the attorney. Does the charter specifically preclude anyone asking the city manager questions about hiring and firing?
Questions about hiring and firing, that depends. Not in those words, but it does prevent, I believe it does, prevent the city commission from interfering with certain aspects of the city manager's position. If the city commission is prohibited from that interference, I'm struggling to understand how an advisory board has more power. I understand your comment, and that is that there's nothing expressed, but if you look at the whole document, there's a clear indication the city manager is in charge of hiring and firing. And I think the board can vote on this question. I don't think you're legally prohibited from voting on this question.
I see two guys sitting here against several others that wants to sweep something under the table here. They don't want this. They don't want you guys to make the comment to the county commissioner, and I would have it more like, how about considering the possibility of reinstating Jim Hayes because of the safety concerns, because of his qualifications that are known, and because we don't know anything that he's done wrong on his job, or something like that. Put at least a few little reasons why you're doing it.
Good point.
Be honorable. Have a little bit of character. And don't worry about Mr. Dale Johnson. He's behold buddies with the guy that caused this problem.
That's character?
Yeah. So just have some character. And
But you guys don't see, we do have to look at the big picture. And-
Really?
And I like Jim Hay, friend of mine. But we have to look at the big picture too, and look at getting ourselves into a situation of doing something that maybe is not even legal, I don't know.
no, it's legal. He just don't want you doing it, because when you do it, you are going to be, in effect, putting the monkey on the commissioner's back.
Do you believe for 1 minute that they would follow that recommendation?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, the federal attorney general strongly says that advisory boards are, if they're part of the process, if you do make that recommendation and they listen to you either way, that you are liable for it. And I think you're liable anyway, civilly. I think you're liable civilly.
And responsibilities, et cetera, ordinances, whatever, and the way the wheels turn. Do we, when a mistake has been made, how do we correct it? Is the system set up so that the mistake cannot be corrected? Because I'm getting ambiguity with the answer to that question. Is there a way to solve a problem when a mistake's been made like that? And I'm talking about the placement of the airport manager. Do you just have to live with it forever if an incompetent person is put in that position? I hope not. So what is the proper recourse for rectifying that mistake? That's the food for thought that I would like to leave with you, and I sincerely hope you see the strength to pass this motion. I don't see it carrying. I don't completely expect that it'll pass, but I think that everybody here knows that there's been a mistake, and I think it's the right thing to do. And I would appreciate your support with that.
At least, we're just asking to look. It may be a temporary position, I don't know, Bill, but there is concerns. I have.
Okay, one thing you're kind of wrong at, though, is that, oh, I shouldn't have said that, because nobody's ever wrong. The airport manager, whoever he is not gonna be there 24/7.
No, he's not.
So there's gonna be a problem. It just can't happen
There
unless
could
you
be.
got enough money to hire somebody to be there 24/7.
I agree, but I still have an uneasiness tonight by the things that I've observed in the last 30 days, okay?
Okay.
And the last thing I wanna do is to go against anything the city has done. We're a dependent board, but I'm just asking them to look at it. And then I feel that I have done what I need to do. It'll be up to them to decide what they do after that. And the reason I'm asking is because I have some concerns. And apparently you have the same concerns.
I'm gonna be very interested to see if this board is willing to offer advice to the city in the form of this question. If we're not even willing to do that, we're wasting our time here.
Here, here.
Yes,
If you're gonna be in command, by God, God's command.
Sorry?
The issue is not whether or not I think all of us want to fill the position of airport manager as quickly as possible, as expeditiously as possible. But there may be other conflicts between Mr. Hay and his immediate superior in the city of Wauchula that need to be dealt with. When we step out of our role, there's nothing wrong with us saying we're deeply concerned about filling the airport manager's slot. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we start usurping the city manager's authority, I think we've outstepped our bounds. That's the part I'm opposed to.
You're out there.
But
You
see,
can't
the
change
thing
his
about
motion.
it is, the city manager explained that, the only issue was that they were going to outsource, IT.
Right,
There was no other conflict, just
Right.
outsourcing IT.
he did a good job,
He said,
all on tape,
oh, he's been an excellent employee.
it's all on tape.
You want to
We're trying to get him money.
your motion, to something that other than what was originally said, or you wanna stick with your motion?
He's sticking with it.
Line.
You can't,
Bill, asking is not usurping.
That's right. Correct.
There's a big difference.
I
And you're
believe
not
it
even
is.
advising, you're asking.
No, it's not.
The city manager is solely responsible for the employees of the city of Wauchula. The city manager, or the airport manager is a city employee.
no, he's not,
Paid by the airport.
not,
that remains to be.
I'm not
It's paid
asking.
by the
Look
city.
at the
I'm not
list.
asking the city.
So is your-
motion
so is the
not
electric
for
bill.
the city to hire, to rehire, it's just to look at,
If
even
we-
if it's a temporary position, till,
Levon, if you fired an employee from Levon Cobb Construction,
and I've made
or
mistakes.
That's
eliminated a
not
position
public.
from Levon Cobb Construction, would you want a foreman coming back and saying, well, can I hire this person in a different division?
If I was a foreman, I
I'll
would.
answer that question, Bill. I have had people that got terminated, and I have had board members come to me about it. I have had what are considered, high-ranking personalities in the county come to me about it. They wanted me to change my mind, and because of the circumstances, I didn't do it. If there are other circumstances, but I didn't get mad at them for asking, because they didn't know.
No, I'm not
Right.
faulting Terry at all. I have a good relationship with Terry Ashley, but Terry Ashley does not know the management of an airport.
Right.
We do.
Right.
But we have not established,
And-
whether or not it was
and-
our
and the-
prerogative.
But the chairman has concerns. So maybe we need to reword, to get this to pass, we may have to reword it.
Yeah.
You
But
can't,
I feel that we need to do something at least to say, I have some concerns.
Thank you.
I do. They're not gonna go away. And if something bad happens, there'll be folks here interviewing all of us.
We've got to have some kind of voice in the operation of the airport.
Airport board.
We can't just ignore a responsibility if it hurts feelings of something as important as the safety and the operation of an
So what's
airport.
wrong with us proffering
Guys, this is a
substitute?
lot more serious than maybe his IT position was.
What's
If
wrong with
computers
us?
go down, that's one thing. When fuel gets, not properly checked, or procedures are not properly done, that is serious, and I have some concerns.
And who's that?
Can we proffer a substitute motion?
How can we do that? Tell me how to do that.
We need to express our concern to the city manager and the city commission that there is an urgency to fill the position of airport manager with someone who is
Qualified.
competent and qualified.
too soft.
What's wrong with putting his name on it?
What's wrong with Jim Hay? Who's more
What's wrong with
qualified?
Jim Hay, Bill?
If they want to reconsider him and he wants to apply for it, so be it.
Okay, here's the question. Do you have full faith and confidence in Jim Hay running that airport right now?
I certainly would have full faith and confidence in Jim Hay running the airport, but if Jim Hay has a conflict,
There's no
we
conflict.
have no ability to pay him.
Mr. Ashley loves Jim Hay. He said he was a great employee. He just eliminated the IT job, and he tied those two jobs together.
He has been delegated that authority through the city's charter to solely make that decision.
If you have full faith and confidence in this man, then you pass a motion saying, we recommend as an advisory only. You can do it, what you want. We recommend that you put him back out there because that's the most expeditious and safe solution to the problem. Make it an independent contractor position. Pay him $3,000 a year plus a house, just like you did the other guy. That solves everything.
Let's do something else. Maybe we can solve this quicker, because I personally don't feel that this is going to pass, so maybe we can, have another one. I'd like to call for a vote, for those in favor of asking the city to take another look at Mr. Hayes' employment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion, failed.
Okay.
Now, let's do another motion. No, you
I
want to
move-
word one?
I move to express the board's concern about the vacancy of airport management and to have them report to us, not only on the airport manager position at the next meeting or at a special meeting, but also on the relationship of this authority with the city of Wauchula. That's my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second to that?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
We have two managers. They told us that day at the meeting. These are your two managers. I think that'll show up on
What?
Where are the managers here anyway? You got Andy Madison,
Here's your
Jason
two
Clark.
managers.
They're not even here. This is an Airport Authority Board meeting and your airport manager's not here? Or the two of them? They left the scene of an accident on Saturday night. Never
We have
came back.
concerns, that's why we're doing something, we're taking action today, okay? We're doing the best we can under the circumstances. Any more discussion, I'm gonna call for a vote.
What is the motion again? Can you restate that, Bill? Or can you-
Motion is to, the motion is for this airport advisory authority, whatever we are, I'm not certain, to express our concern about the operation of the urgency, of the airport, and an urgency to fill the role of manager of the airport. And at the same time, to clarify the relationship between this advisory authority and the city of Wauchula.
Second. What was your second? Still second.
Comment. What I'm telling you, that's usurping just as much. He's already hired two people to take the job. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Well,
He didn't hire them, he appointed them.
Well, I don't think he hired anybody permanently. They were already city employees. I won't say that he's hired anybody correctly.
What is that?
He's already appointed 2 people to run your airport. Those 2 people did not show up
Well,
for that accident.
It's
They
going to
did
go
come out
on
for
record
1 hour.
that
and
we
left.
have
One
concerns.
of you make another motion, and, unless I'm allowed to. You came very close to, just requesting the city to look at reinstating Jim. I can't see why that would step on any legal toes. If you are an advisory board, even though you're called an authority, which I still have a problem with, if you are an advisory board, and you all know that Jim has done and can continue to do a great job, probably better than anybody else we can find in the near future. And we all know that the justification for his IT position shouldn't have anything to do with his airport situation. As the Airport Advisory Committee or Airport Authority, it's our advice that we reinstate Jim at the airport. Is that gonna step on any legal toes?
Good.
How? You're not passing the resolution to do it, you're just asking, your advice is, you're an advisory board to the commission, you're advising them to reinstate Jim.
You know, I'm assuming after everything that's been said about this position, it's probably gonna be an advertised position of some sort. Jim's gonna have an opportunity he was not fired from the city of Wauchula.
Good point.
Jerry said he was.
I thought it was stated they eliminated his position.
He said it both
Is that
ways.
correct?
He said it both ways.
Both ways.
Well, it's my understanding they've eliminated his position. He will certainly have an opportunity to come back around and talk through this. And I asked Jim, when this first started, to take the high road in this situation. And let's see if we can't work through this. That hasn't been totally the case, Jim. Obviously, we've got a bunch of folks here that's been malicious toward the city. I think it might have an opportunity to work out.
You had an opportunity
Taking the high
at the
road.
first airport meeting and you all bailed.
Right. You turned on him.
Simple.
You did.
I gave you
I
a
worked to
chance
deal
at
with
that
you.
meeting. I did not
Mr.
show up
Ashton
because I was told not to show up. You all had the chance to say something
Oh,
then,
that's
and you
my
didn't.
2 cents, and Jim will have another chance to look at it again.
Well, if he
Put in your
applies,
application.
do you all feel that you want him back?
Good question.
I don't have a problem with Jim Hay.
That ain't answering his question for real.
I think the employment arrangements have to be reconciled with the city of Wauchula.
But
Sure.
they've gotta fix
Will
that
you
issue
guys
as
get
well.
to screen the applicants?
They gotta hire somebody.
These are questions we're asking.
Wow, the airport authority.
Were there applicants in the
If the
past?
city of Wauchula has paid them, then no.